Hello everyone, welcome back to Sigil. My name is Kevbot. In today's video, I will be reviewing Faster Purple Worm, Everybody Dies, Volume 1 by Beadle and Grimm. I'm going to review the book itself and go over some of the adventures inside of it, but I also want to spend some time discussing what exactly a Faster Purple Worm adventure is, and some lessons we can take from it to put in our own home campaigns. With that said, we've got a lot to cover today, so let's get right on into it. Faster Purple Worm Kill Kill is a live play show created by Beadle and Grimm. There are 20 episodes that can be streamed on Tubi, but they also perform the game live at conventions. If you want to check out some of these live shows for free to get a sense of what Faster Purple Worm games are like, you can check out the playlist they have on the YouTube channel, where they have 7 sessions. I was lucky enough to be able to see the first live showing in Canada at GameCon in Edmonton just a couple of months ago, and that show was recently uploaded as well. The premise of these adventures is that the party plays a group of first-level characters, go up against a legendary creature, and are killed by the end. I always thought this was a homage to the Tracy and Laura Hickman's Killer Breakfast that they used to put on at Gen Con, where Tracy would bring up people on stage to play low-level characters and kill them in creative ways.
Oh yes, where was
I showed up to get Jamie Chambers' autograph for my copy of Battlestar Galactica.
And so you should. Everyone should get Jamie's autograph on Battlestar Galactica.
It's 24/17.
Okay, shameless plug, you got it.
However, the book actually has a section where they explain where their version came from and why. Faster Purple Worm Everybody Dies Volume 1 is an adventure anthology book with 15 of these one-shots designed for parties of level 1 characters. There are adventures written for a variety of different D&D campaign settings: Eberron, Ravenloft, Forgotten Realms, Feywild, Planescape, and Spelljammer. Some adventures are written to take place in any setting, like Everyone Dies Conveniently in a Cemetery, but all of them can be adapted to any campaign setting. Some adventures, like Everybody Dies in the Heart of a Storm, even give examples of how to adapt them to different settings. Unlike most adventure anthology books that are written with adventures that span a range of levels, these are all written for parties of first-level characters. As for the book itself, it's fantastic. Reading through all of the adventures in here, none stand out as any stronger or weaker than any others, and I would be excited to run any of these chapters. Speaking of running it, these adventures are designed in a way that has almost zero prep work. Just reading through the chapter once, I feel confident that I could essentially run it straight out of the book without having to do any preparation or notes beforehand. Lots of one-shot anthology books claim to do this, but I've never seen adventures written this easy to run. There are tons of great keep-it-spontaneous sidebars within the chapters to help with running each session. Finally, the pacing of these adventures really feels like they're written to be formed as a one-shot and don't have a middle part that drags on too long like many one-shots have. The back of the book also has a neat section where they go into the behind the scenes of filming the show and some funny anecdotes and stories from the playtesters. That's about all I have to say for the review, as I don't want to get into too much detail about the individual adventures and spoil what's in them. In short, I highly recommend picking up this product if you're looking for a collection of 15 amazing and creative one-shot adventures that are low prep and easy to run. For now, I want to talk about lessons that we can learn from the concept of a Faster Purple Worm adventure that we could include in the campaigns that we're running right now. One of the things that makes Faster Purple Worm adventures so intriguing is how they subvert the narrative of traditional role-playing games. In almost every role-playing game, the characters have a goal to achieve and go up against some sort of adversary in order to achieve their goals. However, in most cases, it's simply living or dying that results in win or loss conditions. The party slays the monsters and win, or they're killed by the monsters and lose. Implicitly, the meta-knowledge going into a standard game is that the party will be able to survive and overcome a difficult challenge, winning in the end. However, Faster Purple Worm adventures subvert this meta-knowledge. Instead, you go into the session knowing that you will be killed. It is in this paradigm shift that we can extract lessons from Faster Purple Worm adventures to use in any campaign to make it more fun and more fulfilling. Firstly, and something that I've talked about more in my Minds of Moria video, alternate win and loss conditions other than just life and death during combat. In these adventures, we see the inclusion of these alternate win and loss conditions. As an example of this, let's look at the session from that live show I watched. A plague has fallen on Waterdeep, and there's a fairy dragon who is the key to eradicating the plague. Unfortunately, the fairy dragon is being held captive by Baba Yaga, and so the party is tasked with saving him.
So Laryl Silverhand looks at you all, and she says, "The city is in terrible danger. There is a plague that's plaguing the city, and only one creature knows how to cure this plague. And his name is Sir Talavar."
Sir
And-
Talavar?
Sir Talavar. And he is a fairy dragon. And I have learned that he has been kidnapped by a vicious hag in a swamp called the Mere of Madmen. He knows the cure.
Gotcha.
I'm hoping that you can get the information needed to save Sir Talavar.
The party members obviously died during the final encounter with Baba Yaga, but in the process, they were able to free the fairy dragon, and the plague was eradicated, saving Waterdeep.
That you perish.
I'm
Wimbley the halfling is swallowed by this giant alligator.
And I'm a perfect nugget size. I fit right in his mouth, unfortunately.
But as you're being swallowed, the last thing you see is Sir Talavar flying to safety.
So here we see a perfect example of a win condition that results from the sacrifice of the player characters. A second lesson to pull from these adventures is to focus on the characters. Oftentimes during session prep, we focus on our plot and the story first, with the characters being a secondary focus in the story. After all, the players at the table will naturally focus on their own characters during play, so generally that takes care of itself. But the game is much more fun if player characters are always kept as the primary focus during prep and while running the game itself. How do Faster Purple Worm Adventures achieve this? In the introduction, it gives advice to dungeon masters, and one point mentions, find ways for the characters to look good prior to the final battle. You're going to kill them in the end, so let them shine and be heroic along the way. Even at level 1, characters tend to have tons of cool abilities and spells. Consider what classes make up the party, and include mini-events and encounters throughout the session where everyone gets to show off at least one spell or ability before the character dies at the end. And it's a bonus if this also ties to their backstory, goals, ambitions, fears, or anything to create a bit of a character arc.
But the reality is, John, in this moment, I'll grab my staff.
Yeah.
And my staff is from my village. And my village shaman gave me this staff that was given to my father. And my father once was a politician. And he left being a politician because he didn't like what the orcs were doing in his tribe. And so he took me and the rest of my family to a different tribe. And we learned from the mistakes of the tribe we were first with. And this staff has generation after generation of co-chieftain of that community that I'm from.
Okay.
And I've always carried it as a great piece of pride. And in this moment, and in this swamp, and in this, was I'm being confronted with the spirits and realizing the horrors of the past. I'm gonna take this staff that has been with me through generations.
Yes.
I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna bend my knee. I'm gonna take that staff and I'm gonna crack it over my knee. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna throw one inside to the one side of the swamp and the other to the other side of the swamp. And I'm gonna say, I take responsibility for my people, eh? And that wasn't right. And so from this point forward, just know, I apologize on behalf of all those that don't speak for him.
Okay. Does that quell the spirit? All right. Well done. Well done.
This also helps with the issue of pacing, which can be especially tricky for one-shots. If you design several small events that focus on the characters, and not simply linear plot points, you have more freedom to add, remove, shorten, or lengthen these scenes to control the pacing throughout the game. In short, be a fan of your players and your player characters. Don't focus so much on setting up awesome things to show off monster abilities, although that can be fun and you can definitely include those, but think about those lightning rods that we can include that show off cool character abilities throughout given sessions. There are also 2 pieces of player advice in the book that tie into this lesson. Play characters you care about. Yes, they are going to die, but their journey can be filled with meaning if the characters themselves have meaning. Start with someone you love and do everything you can in the short time you have with them, and commit fully to the high stakes of the story, given circumstances and goals. The best choices lean into your character being a hero destined for greatness. Just like the advice they give for Dungeon Masters, this player advice would serve players well in any game. And so, that's my review for Faster Purple Worm Everybody Dies Volume 1. In short, I highly recommend this one-shot adventure anthology, as all of the adventures in it are fantastic. If you don't pick it up, hopefully this video shines some light on concepts we can steal from it to put into our own home games to make them even better. If you're still on the fence about buying it, I recommend checking out the shows they have for free on their YouTube channel. You can check out performances of Everybody Dies in a Dungeon, Everybody Dies on a Lightning Train, and Everybody Dies in Wild Space, chapters 13 to 15 in this anthology. Let me know what you think about this concept for running adventures, and if you bought this book, which adventures in it you would be most excited to run first. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Kevbot. Now get out there and kill your party.